Well, good morning, friends. Welcome to Real Life on the Homestead in Ontario. I'm Marie, and as you can tell by the mess in my kitchen, I'm up to a lot. I have my brother, his partner, and their 3 kids visiting from BC. It's an exciting time because we don't get to see each other too often. Now, his sons are 2 teenagers and 1 adult, and these boys can eat. And that's good because they're growing boys, they're active, and they need lots of nourishment. Then I have my son and his partner, my spouse, and myself. We need to feed a crowd. And even though we're getting together for a lunch, we're still going to need to eat. And I'm trying to stick as much to the carnivore diet as possible. And I'm trying to think of how do we accommodate everybody? Well, the good old standby. A brisket. A brisket of beef always goes great for large crowds. And if there's any leftover, it freezes so well. So today, I'm going to do brisket in the oven, but not like the last video that I showed you. And I will link that below just in case you want to refer to that one, which is a 1-day thing. This is going to be a 2-day process. It's a low, slow, almost gives you the same feeling and texture as if it was done in a smoker. The other recipe that I've done, like I said, I'll link it below. It gives you a more soft, shredded type of brisket. This one is going to be like it's smoked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the spice mix first of all, because you need your spices. I'm going to show you how I trim off the brisket and get today, day 1, all organized. So please join me today as we make a brisket lunch for the entire family that everybody will absolutely enjoy. Now I'm very aware that you can do just enough spice rub for 1 brisket. And to do that, you would do 2 to 3 tablespoons of each spice. However, you know me, I like my quantities. So let me do, first of all, let me grab my funnel because I don't want to make a mess. I'm going to make enough rub for my brisket as well as to keep for other meals. Starting off with, I use pink Himalayan sea salt. I love it. That's what I like to use. You can use sea salt. Just stay away from anything with iodine. And I'm going to use half a cup of that. Then 3/4 cups of garlic powder. This is my own garlic powder that I freeze dried and then ground up. Oh, the smell is so good. Remember, I was just in Budapest and I brought back some beautiful, beautiful paprika. Can you see that? This is smoked paprika. The nice thing with this being smoked paprika, no liquid smoke required, and I don't have to use a smoker. Not a bad deal, right? And then we need half a cup of fresh ground black pepper. My pepper pot is empty, and you know, if you've been watching my channel, what I do when I'm doing my pepper, I could sit here and do this for a long, long time, and I don't have that kind of patience. So, take my drill. You've seen that video before, right? Take my drill, attach it to my pepper mill. There you go. On the drill, working slowly. Oh my goodness, the smell of this pepper is nothing better than fresh ground pepper. There we go. Just gonna take that off the drill so I don't drop it. Put that aside. So, adding my pepper to the mix. And look at that, all my spices. Now let me just grab myself a lid and mix vigorously. You don't need a whisk. Just get a jar that's bigger than your quantities. This is an 800 milliliter jar and it fits perfectly. There we go. There is my spice rub. It smells beautiful. It looks fantastic. So now let's prepare our brisket. What I have here is a $96 brisket from Costco in Canada, and I've got two. The reason I do two is if I'm gonna run the oven as long as I'm gonna run it, I'm gonna get the most out of it, and this freezes so well. So I'll actually make meal-sized containers and put them in the freezer for later. But right now, we're gonna trim this up. And I'm gonna heavily trim this, and you'll think, wow, she's wasting a lot. But I'm not. I'm going to use the trimmings to make tallow, as well as anything that I won't use for tallow and it's just little scraps. I'll use those just to add to the raw dog food, puppies. I'm trying to do this without making a mess on the counter. I did clean my counter because I'm working straight on it, and then I will disinfect it later. Let's get this out of the way. It's going, I'm just gonna pat this dry just so that it's not sliding around on me. Starting with the bottom end, there's not very much here. They've trimmed it really good. Things like this, like little skins and the tougher sinuate type part, I'm just gonna put that aside. I'll add that to the dog food. This portion here is a fat piece that we don't want. We don't want a lot of fat on the bottom. And it renders down into tallow so well. So I'm definitely going to put this aside. See that? I should be showing you what I'm doing. See that? That's pure beef fat, makes beautiful tallow. And remember, a sharp knife is your friend, and a dark, dull knife is your enemy. So make sure your knife is sharp before you start. And I'm not a butcher. Remember, I'm doing this just out of life experience and sharing it with you. There is a good cap of fat here. Not to worry, we don't need all this fat. We're gonna have the fat on the other end. So I'm gonna cut it out of my brisket. I know some people keep it. It's not my family's preference to have that much fat right there. Yet, like I said, this will make perfect tallow, and I do need tallow for this recipe. So, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? People who say they can't get beef fat to make tallow, it's because they're not buying the right cuts of meat to save their tallow from. And tallow, for those who don't know, is just rendered down beef fat, one of the most bioavailable fats for us, and just really good for brain health. So always, if you can, get yourself some tallow and cook with that. Do not use seed oils, margarine, garbage, vegetable oil, garbage. Stick to the good stuff. See that? So I've trimmed off most of it. I did leave some, of course. And let's just get into these other little skin pieces. Put those aside. Just as clean as I can go on the bottom half. Perfect. Now, we've got some dark, not so nice meat. That's just oxidization. And I'm gonna trim that off. And this, I'm trimming it off thin, of course. Don't wanna waste meat. Perfect. I wanna show that to you. So this is the oxidized meat. It's very thin. I will add this to the dog food so that they can get themselves a nice treat added on to what they already get. I need to sharpen my knife a little bit better. And now on the other side, we've got quite a bit of fat. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim this down to about 1/4 inch. That's all we need is 1/4 inch of fat. And it's a patience thing. Like I said, I need to sharpen my knife. So give me a moment. I gotta wash this and get it sharpened, and I'll be right back. Oh, well, I just grabbed another knife. I've got several, so this way I can just continue and move along. Like I said, I'm going to trim up 1/4 inch. And all this is going to tallow. There's quite a bit on here. Sometimes you get leaner cuts of brisket, sometimes not so much. It's hard to tell when they're packaged. I do try to get one that has a nice balance. Like, you do want fat in it, but you don't want to pay for just fat. And sometimes you're lucky and sometimes not so much. And it does happen. Sometimes I get more fat than I intend, but this is what it is. I trimmed a little bit too much there, but that's okay. This fat on this side so much thicker. I was going based on that and I shouldn't have. So here is our brisket. We are going to season this. And so you see how this, there's a little piece here. It's a cap, and I don't know what it's called. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that off. Don't panic. I'm not throwing it out. Reason I'm doing that is this is thick, this is thin. To cook evenly, what I'm gonna do is just place that little cap on that side there, and it'll cook evenly across. More fat than I want there. Always a little bit of extra trimming. I do that way too often. Okay, so it was like this here was when they were trimming, they cut into that portion and it oxidized. So I want to get rid of that little section right there. Perfect. A little tiny bit more. It's like a drier skin where it's oxidized. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm getting rid of it. So let me wash my hands and we're going to season this up. What we're going to do is liberally sprinkle. And this is not, I'm going to say it's not going to be a rub, because what I want to do is you pat it down. Don't rub it in. And this is not going to work because my hands are going to get dirty every 2 seconds. And I don't want to touch my jar with dirty hands. So washing them again, I'm gonna put some of my rub into a bowl, and I'm using about 1/3 of what I mixed, just so that I could do this without constantly having to wash my hands. So pat it down on the edges. Make sure you get it on the edges. This is beautiful stuff. There's that piece that we got from the side. Bottom half, again, generously season and pat it down. You want it to stick, but you don't want it to become like a wet rub by rubbing it into the juices of the meat. Oh, this smells so good. That smoked paprika is just fabulous. Okay, let me get some, well, let's move this out of the way. I'm gonna use that piece that we cut off to clean my board. Get all those spices on there. Beautiful. I'm gonna stick that in that little hole. whole. Oh my goodness, this looks so beautiful. I'm going to get a pan that I am placing in the fridge. Move this out of the way. I'm going to grab that pan to show you what my intentions are. I have a pan. I'm just going to put a little rack on there. And I am going to place a piece underneath. I'm going to place this in the fridge. Got some more spice on here. I'm going to place this in the fridge all day. And this evening, we're going to pull it out of the fridge, let it rest for an hour, and then throw it into the oven overnight. Now I've shown you how to do one. I'm going to take this over to my fridge and I'm going to do the other one. So now you're wondering what I'm doing with all these scraps. I'm going to go through, and the ones that are like sinewy and tenon-like, not going to use those. I'll give those to the dogs. But the ones like this that are a nice fat, I'm going to just chop up smaller. And I am going to place them in the air fryer to render down. A little bit different than what I normally do for making my tallow, because normally for my tallow, I grind it and then I do them in the slow cooker or the oven roaster. But I'm gonna just make a small amount, and the air fryer works so well for this. So I'm just gonna go through and cut up all these pieces and get them into the air fryer. I'm gonna do it at 375, and I'm gonna do it about 30 minutes and see where we're at. And then I'll show you where we're at with that point. But right now, I'm gonna be chopping up some fat, and I don't think you need to watch step by step of how to do that. Look at these beautiful, beautiful chunks of beef fat. Oh, amazing. Golden, golden opportunities. And nothing goes to waste this way. I've still got quite a bit to cut up, but I'm going to get this started in the air fryer. Now, I do not have a Teflon air fryer. This is ceramic coated, and mine does have vents on the side. So I'm going to make sure that as the tallow renders down, or the fat renders down into tallow, I'm going to be draining it off so that none seeps out these holes. And I'm not going to overload it because of that same reason. So I'm going to get this started. So as I was doing this, I thought it's important to share with you. In the air fryer right now and here, total between the air fryer and this batch is 3 pounds of the cubed fat, which I will make tallow. So that's 3 pounds from 2 full briskets. I'll put that aside. This here was that oxidized meat or not so nice meat. That is straight meat, and that is 12 ounces. So just under a pound. Let's say 3/4 of a pound is exactly what it is. That is going into my dog's meals today. They get 10 ounces each per meal. So I'm going to divide that for the 2 of them, and they will enjoy that. Now, this here is the not so nice fat. And there was more of that. I won't render this down, but I will give it in small portions to the dogs over a long period of time. I don't want them having that much fat. So I'll just give it to them as a supplement. And that is 26 ounces. Okay, let me reset my scale. That is 20, okay. It's 1 pound and 12 ounces. So 1 3/4 pounds from 2 briskets. Remember, I did 2 briskets. So let's just say it's 1 pound. So I get, if you're doing 1 brisket, 1 pound of scrap fat, 1/2 pound of lean meats that you can give to your pets, and then 1.5 pounds of fat that you can make tallow. There was no other waste. So even though the brisket looked like a big piece of meat and I was trimming off a lot, every single thing is getting used. Well, I have major cleanup to do. Got to put these into packages. I'm going to continue to render my tallow. Just a mess. I need to disinfect my countertop, obviously. Air fryer's going, and I got a shitload of dishes to do. And I am running the pizza oven tonight. So look at that. I have a leg of lamb that's going to go into the pizza oven overnight. I'm going to use that same spice rub. Let's see how our tallow is doing. Look at that. I'm just going to push my air fryer back a bit so I have counter space. Look at that. It is crisping up nicely. Underneath that tray will be my tallow. Oh yeah, this is after 20 minutes. I'm gonna let it go another 10 and show you what I'm gonna do. Okay, time is up. Oh, look at this beautiful stuff. Let me just move that over here. Look at that beautiful crispiness. I'm gonna set up my tripod so I can actually show you how I'm doing this. Well, first and foremost, waste nothing. These are beef cracklings. I know you've heard of pork cracklings, but oh my goodness, these are good. But always, 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 always put a good sprinkling of a good quality salt. These are hot as hell, but you know what? Getting in there. Oh my God. Pork ain't got anything on beef. I could just eat all this right now. Let's get back to our tallow. So good. Oh my goodness. Needs a little bit more salt than what I first put, but that flavor is there. This air fryer is absolutely fantastic. I did a lot of research to find a non-Teflon type of air fryer, and this was my favorite. If it's still available, I will link it below. So there is my beautiful tallow. Let me grab a mason jar. Remember how I said don't overfill your air fryer if it has the side vents? Let me show you why. Even if you try to pour it off, it comes out the vents. So I always use a nice Pyrex dish to get all my beautiful tallow. Oh my God, it's so gorgeous. I'm gonna clean this up because I'm gonna do another batch, remember that? And I'm gonna grab my mason jar and pour my beautiful tallow in there. Look at that, this is only half of the fat that I got. So this would be equivalent to what you would get from only one piece of brisket. That's 500 milliliters of tallow. This is not tallow you would use for face cream, but oh my goodness, for cooking, this is gold. Don't ever waste your beef fat. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? And the air fryer makes it so simple. I'm gonna get this cleaned up, gonna get another batch in there, and I'm gonna let this one cool off because we will be using that when we're cooking our brisket. I've now got the 2 briskets in the fridge. So you can see I have one over the other. I'm leaving a little bit of airspace because you're trying to get that crust to dry on there. This is gonna sit in the fridge for the full day. We are gonna start cooking this tonight. So this now is just air drying in the fridge. As you can see, I've left lots of space. And tonight, the house is gonna be like a dream. I've just taken both my briskets out of the fridge. They have been drying all day. See, the seasons are nicely dried on there. I just stacked them together just at this moment because I wanted to show you this. I'm going to put a rack in the bottom of my pan, place my brisket on top, and then add about 2 to 4 cups of water. But I'm gonna try really hard not to get the water to touch the brisket. So literally I'm going to get it right to the level of the rack. I am going to let these rest at room temperature for an hour to an hour and a half, just letting them come up to temperature before placing them in the oven. I've just inserted a thermometer. This is my meter, and I will link that below because I think that is the best meat thermometer on the market. Not cheap, but can I tell you, you end up with perfection when you use those. I am going to add my water to the bottom of each brisket pan, not to touch the meat, and I am putting it in a preheated oven at 250 Fahrenheit. I'm going to let that sit there for, it's gonna be about 8 to 10 hours, monitoring my temperature on my thermometer. We're going to reach a temperature of 175 meat temperature. And then I will remove it from the oven and show you the next step because we need to wrap this up and get all that moisture just stay in. But this bark will set really nicely in the oven, again at 250 degrees until the meat reaches 175, about 8 to 10 hours. And I will keep you up to date as that happens. I'm doing this overnight. You can do this throughout the day if you want to monitor it for the first time you're doing it. But I know that if I place this in the oven now, about 8 to 10 hours later, I will reach the temperature I want. So I'm comfortable doing it overnight, but if you're not, do it throughout the day. Here we go, in the oven. See you guys in 8 hours. These beauties are done. As you can see, they have a beautiful bark on them. Smells absolutely wonderful. I did add a little bit of water to the pan throughout because it was just evaporating a little quick. This was done in 7.5 hours to be exact. Now what I'm going to do is take a piece of my parchment paper and then grab some of that tallow that we made. It's starting to get, a little bit harder, but I left it at room temperature so it is still soft. And all I'm going to do is coat my parchment paper with it to make sure that there is nice amounts of fat. Nothing's gonna stick. It wouldn't stick to parchment paper anyway. However, it is nice to have a coating of fat. And this tallow is just so beautiful. It smells so clean. And then I'm gonna take my brisket and place it on top of my parchment. Just like that. And I'm gonna remove that thermometer. Look at this crust, isn't that beautiful? Just gorgeous. I'll get you a little bit closer. That is a beautiful bark. Get rid of my thermometer, make sure I wash and clean that. And then I'm going to put some more fat on top, because what we want to do is keep it really moist. And this is the tallow that we rendered. So it is absolutely beautiful. It'll help keep it juicy while it bakes a bit more. The next step is to wrap this. And if I had my butcher paper, I would be wrapping it in one long sheet. I'm out of butcher paper right now, so I'm just going to take my parchment, wrap it around nicely, just like that. Put a couple of layers. And now into the oven at 275 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to leave this in until my internal temperature of the meat is 205. Temperature of 205 has been reached, and this is what my pan looks like. Now what I'm going to do is move it from the pan onto my foil paper and wrap it. And I'm going to let it rest and let it drop down to 165. So let me just show you what I'm working on. This is gonna, I find the easiest way to move the entire brisket onto my foil paper is using 2 spatulas. And now I'm going to wrap this up, let it rest, come down to 160. And that will be perfect slicing temperature. Because I'm going to be transporting this, I'm going to wrap it with a towel, and that will keep it resting as well as keep it warm.
Excuse the bad lighting, but the sun's just coming up. This has rested overnight. This one I'm taking to my son's place, and this one here I'm gonna leave at home and pack up for future meals. So let's crack into this one so that you can see what our brisket looks like. It's still a bit warm. Normally, I would open this up when this reaches 160 degrees and eat it then. But because I am transporting it to my son's, I let it cool down. It's still, like my hand's under there, it's still warm. I just want you to see what it looks like inside this beautiful, beautiful capsule. And I'm just doing this just for your viewing pleasure. Bet. There we go. Take these papers out and grab that pan. The smell as I unwrap is just beautiful, which is a good thing. There we go. If I had butcher paper, I would have used that, but large sheets of parchment worked well. Let me grab a knife. Let's just cut into this. I'll tell you, super, super tender cutting through. Try not to cut into my paper underneath. Just beautiful. Friends, look at this. Look at how juicy it is. This is just gorgeous. The fat cap on top really makes a difference with keeping that juiciness going. Oh my goodness. It's just fall apart. And this is what I wanted to show you. See how that falls apart? Tender, just gorgeous. Now for the taste test. Perfection. if you like this type of cooking. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. We'll see you next time. Go out, live your very best life.